Watch this full series at the links in the description below and subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch new mental health videos every week. We're back with Flor Edwards, the author of Apocalypse Child, who was born and raised in the Children of God cult. Interesting, when she moved back to America from Thailand, how a 17 magazine would change her life forever. How did this magazine just jar your brain?
Gosh, I mean, I always think about that, how this one issue of a magazine just completely changed everything, and how I stumbled across it. But I started going to school, and I would, on my way home, sometimes stop at the library. You know, this is before free access to the internet. You know, the way I would get information was through, you know, books and magazines. And I picked up an issue of, I believe it was 17 magazine. And there was a story about a girl who had escaped a cult. And then there was a quiz on the side, and it said, "Did you grow up in a cult? Take this quiz and find out now." And I could not get to the quiz fast enough. And it had 5 questions, and it said, if you've answered yes to at least three of these questions, you may have grown up in a cult. And I answered a resounding yes to all 5.
Yeah, you wrote the 5 questions in your book. On page 194, you said, did you grow up in a secluded environment? Yes. Were you under the influence of a charismatic leader? Were you coerced to recruit members to your group? Were you prohibited from leaving the premises unless you were recruiting members? And were you taught that the world outside was a forbidden place, and did you feel guilty for wanting to leave? And you answered, oh yeah, to all of that.
Yeah.
And then what was that realization like when you realized, Children of God, my life for 12 years was a cult?
It definitely answered a lot of questions. In some ways, things became clear, but in some ways, they became a lot less clear. In that, although I now knew what it was, how I was going to cope with it was even more overwhelming. And yeah, for a few days, literally the only words that went through my head was like, oh my God, I grew up in a cult. Oh my God, I grew up in a cult. Like I couldn't even grasp what had happened. So, you know, I definitely told all my sisters, so we all now knew. And, you know, we got really angry at our parents, and we started yelling at them. And I think we even got more destructive in our behaviors. We just wanted to escape whatever the reality, you know. And I felt quite cheated. You know, I knew now for sure everything I had been taught was basically a lie. I had been kind of robbed of my childhood in a way, and yeah, I was quite angry, and also just wanting to.
Why do you say you were kind of robbed of a childhood in a way?
Because when we started this conversation, we were talking about how I was also a normal child, and there was a sense of beauty and excitement in my childhood, you know, in the day to day, and that's what I wanted to bring out. You know, I wanted to write this book so that, in a way, it's leaving a piece of what happened, you know, or else the media is just going to keep, you know, spinning it. And when I did look back on my childhood, amidst all the terror, I think I even say it in the beginning, amidst all the madness, it was magical. It was a magical childhood. But I think any childhood is magical. I always say, even if a child grows up in a war zone, they're going to find beauty somewhere. And so, yeah, children are just innocent like that. But when I was a teenager and I just found out I grew up in a cult, my perspective then was much different.
And you were drinking heavily, using drugs.
I was drinking, I was smoking a lot of pot, hanging out with the wrong crowd. You know, they, I think, found us to be great pawns, and, you know, we had this like look about us that we would do things, but we didn't look like we did bad things. So they would like have us go and like steal things, and we sort of just would do whatever they wanted us to do because it was our way of finding acceptance.
Like other cool kids. You would do whatever they wanted.
Oh yeah, it was our way of being cool. I think there was always a little voice inside of me that knew it was wrong. Yeah, gosh, I haven't thought about this part of my life in a long time, but there was this conscience inside of me that knew that as wrong as my childhood was, it happened for a reason, if that makes sense. And I was trying to escape something, but I was also going to have to eventually face it.
And you knew that as a teenager?
I did. I knew that. I remember even being so drunk out of my mind, and there was this very clear consciousness inside my conscience that just knew, like, what are you doing? Like asking myself, Flor, what are you doing? And I don't know where that comes from or came from.
There are people who think that because we are the creation of our past experiences that we should not live in regret and we should be thankful for everything that's happened to us. Do you agree with that?
I think there's a difference between the creative me, which sounds very optimistic, but that's because I do believe in making something. So when I'm talking about all these things, I'm talking about actually shaping a narrative, but I'm not the kind of person who says, oh yeah, it's okay, it's all for the better good. You know, it happened for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm back in school now. I've been in school for like 12 years or something. And I'm getting my second master's. I'm thinking about doing a PhD. And
Do it.
I'm finding every field of study I go into, where I study English, but like whether it's psychology, whether it's politics, whether it's philosophy, I cannot escape the relevance of this story. Those words were written through an absolute miracle in a way of healing, but also work and process. But every word that came out of me when I wrote the book was me transforming a very difficult and painful life into a life that I wanted.
Thanks for watching. Check out the links below for more information on how to access this full series, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch new mental health videos every week. Did you like what you heard in this video? If you want to ask a MedCircle doctor a question directly, you can learn how by visiting the links in the description below.